these videos for staying connected in the community as I broadcast using the broadcast app haps.tv to multicast across a lot of different platforms. Just so you know, if you haven't seen my videos before or if you haven't heard of Haps, it will curate or collate all of, collate, are these the right words? It will take all of the different comments of all these different platforms and put them together so that I can see Facebook and Twitter all in the same place. So if you are seeing comments that are only from one platform or the other, if you're on Facebook, you'll only see the Facebook comments. If you're on Twitter, you'll only see the Twitter comments, and so on for all the other platforms out there. So, as mentioned in my previous videos, I'm a little bit run down this week. So this video may be more rambling than usual. And that's saying a lot because these videos are often quite rambling. But thank you for bearing with me as I've got my little snuffleupagus situation going on and my brain a little bit scatty. Today I wanted to make a video and see about whether I can post it into the website and the blog. So we're going to look into how to do that. And if you're seeing this on the website, then way, it worked. If not, then well, I hope it works somehow. We'll have to figure it out. So first steps into this area, because this is a new business, this is a new enterprise that I am very passionate about launching, and it's taking a very long time to build, far longer than I expected actually, which is typical planning fallacy. I'm an extremely organized person. I had a Gantt chart on my wedding day, and if you don't know what a Gantt chart is, it's a chart that you have all of the time that is needed for any given thing allocated in blocks so that you can see the progress schedule. So I had one of those for my wedding day, and I thoroughly loved having it there because that's what my mind works best with. And yet this has been so incredibly supported and grown in terms of the possibilities and the options, and evolved along the way, that it is taking longer and longer. And I didn't anticipate that, given that it's, you know, it's a technological thing, it is an online course, and I also wanted to make it of a quality that is valuable for people. So decided very early on to have live testing, which is very, very brilliant for getting feedback from people and having those people say, oh, I would prefer to have subtitles. I would like to have some little jumping icons. I would like to have a slower talking style. I would like to have different types of segues. Hi, Daniel. Thank you for joining. So taking all of these comments and feedbacks on with every time we live test has meant that I have gained this valuable gold mine of information that I immediately implement into the rest of the pillars, and then have to reformat and refilm the next pillar along and then test that one as well and then apply the feedback. So it's taking much longer than I expected. I am very sorry for everyone who's been waiting for this, and I thank you for your patience and support. It will be coming. I hope, just, I'm not giving it any time, but I would love you to have this as soon as possibly possible this year, and I'm working on it, and I thank you so much for your support. Now, the reason why I'm getting so much support for this wonderful and incredible purpose-driven business, and those are my opinions, obviously, obviously, is because I have a background in media, and I have gone through my life journey, and I realized that personal and financial literacy is an area that a lot of people feel a little bit insecure about. And I'm one of these people that if I feel insecure about something, I want to crush it. I'm like, this is very interesting. I love psychology. I love like all types of, like, I'm going to be doing a course on Coursera called Consumer Neuroscience. I love knowing about behavior, why we think things, how we do things, different ways to move around things, and how to constantly improve and personally develop. And on my journey, I realized that personal finance seemed to come up a lot and cause a lot of problems for a lot of people that I was talking to, which were very avoidable. Super, super avoidable. And when I started to get told more and more that I should go into coaching and that I should go into considering areas to help people, because I was already mentoring teens and have now been in a fantastic mentoring program called the TWF, the Women's Foundation Mentoring Program for Women Leaders, for the past year, which I'm so thankful for. People were telling me to put my mentoring abilities or natural inclination as a big sister to help other people. And I realized that this area of personal finance would be an area that could positively impact the most people's lives in allowing them to take more control over what they want to do with their money, with their life, with their time, and to be able to have them feel like this is not an overwhelming area. Money can be stressful. Money can feel like it's on top of us, and money can feel like it's leading the way when it's out of control. But when we can step away from feeling emotionally tangled with it and feel more secure in the basic foundational elements of personal finance management, then we can say, okay, even if my money feels a little bit scary, out of control, or whatever it may feel like, I can still apply these personal finance areas and make sure that I'm the boss and I'm in command of this and I am making these choices. So if I want to make choices to go shopping and do this and do that, then absolutely, that's my choice. If I do it to my own expense, at my own expense, in terms of to my detriment, that's also my own choice. And I can choose that from a very emotionally stable place, or I can choose it from an emotionally stressful place, but it's still going to be my choice. And if I'm emotionally shopping, or I'm emotionally spending on a credit card, or I'm emotionally doing stuff, then that is something that it's up to me to be able to spot as a sign or a symbol of me needing more support for myself. Because this is all in my opinion, right? So because if we're emotionally shopping or we're emotionally doing things with money, it's because underneath we are craving something or trying to fulfill some kind of feeling that is uncomfortable. Either avoid it or try and numb it or try and make it go away temporarily. And we can change that to do something else instead of throwing money at it. So we can either nurture it, we can figure out what it is and give ourselves what we need. We can figure out different ways to address this instead of spending money, because we didn't always spend money on things. When we're babies, we don't have money to spend on things. We cope with things in a different way. We just learn that we can spend money on stuff, and then that can help numb the pain. That can buy us alcohol to drink. That can take us on a shopping spree so we can avoid feeling bad for just a moment. Whereas we can train ourselves to do something else instead. We can train ourselves to, have a nice bath or put on like a face mask and a towel if we're into that type of thing, or go out for a walk without actually buying anything, or go out to do something and sit by the water and count boats and see how many silly boats with like red steam engine tops there are, or like tugboats, or how many times the Star Ferry goes across, or like we can focus on something that maybe would give us more pleasure and joy. The boat example, I don't know why I thought of that, but some people love sitting by the water and just watching the water. And the boat counting type thing is if you have the type of mind that wants to be distracted, sometimes that type of thing can give us something to focus on. And when we figure out what it is that we are needing from our money, when we are using our money, and how we emotionally connect or translate our money, we can start to make choices in the directions that we want to go. Because the choices that we make right now are going to be the choices that we're used to making. So if we're a saver and we save loads of money, but we don't invest any of it, our money's sitting in the bank and it's depreciating. And it is going down in value for every day, every month, every year that it is sitting in there and not beating 3 or 4% inflation every year. So we want our savings to be beating that type of thing. So when I thought about MoneyMind.Global and I wanted to go into the world and to devote my time and passion to doing something that would make some small impact in just one person's life, I thought, what is the biggest area? And I realized that personal finance is where I avoided when I was younger, working in media and, earning very well, but focusing on my career and other things. And there's always excuses. And so, I had other things on my mind. I had other things to do, but this was important. And if I had known how to do this earlier, I would have done things slightly differently. And the journey that I have made is the journey that I have made for a reason. But knowing the things that I know now in the basics level is so plug and play for anybody else that I decided to share it with this company that is will be a social enterprise that is education based and designed to empower people to develop the confidence to then take the next steps to make their own financial choices and decisions and invest and do things because they feel like, oh, I feel like I've got my basics covered and it's not really that terrifying or scary at all. And so I can just feel confident to take the next step, educate myself further in areas I might want to invest. Know that I've got my risk profiling questionnaire done. If I'm a saver and I'm not quite sure what to invest in, taking the next steps about finding a financial planner, finding a financial advisor, going into my bank and asking about what type of model portfolios they have. Being able to have the confidence to go in to ask those questions is essentially where me talking about all of this is in my heart, hopefully able to empower people to feel, oh, I could just go and do that. I totally can. I have the confidence to do it. And that's why I wanted to launch this business, this social enterprise that's designed for good, that's designed for giving back, designed for impact and empowerment. And education only, not advice. So MoneyMind.Global is really, I'm in Hong Kong, it's going to be online and it will be international. In anyone who wants to just sign on online and just look up, whatever it is that I'm talking about in terms of education and empowerment. I plan for the business to go backwards from the target audience adults who are listening to this, and then talking to teens in education, and then talking backwards to children with picture books. So one of my ambitions is one day to have a literary agent fired up and and representing me to publish children's picture books between the ages of 5 to 7 years old. So that's one of my ambitions with Money Mind and my goals in this journey. And so MoneyMind.Global is the website. You can go and see the pre-launch website right now. I'm still working on all the internal content. I have recently created these little spending trackers and monthly expense trackers that will go into the package of the online course that will be available. And MoneyMind.Global will first be an online course that is the 5 pillars of financial stability. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. It will also have 5 little free videos that are like mini exercises on those same 5 pillars for free for anyone to watch in case they just want to have a look at what these 5 pillars will be and see if it's worth the money that you'll pay for the full course. Now, if you are already doing things with your finances and comfortable enough with your finances and your confidence, you may look at those 5 pillars in the free courses and just see them as a little checklist. Oh, okay, I've got these checklists done. I'm mostly done on most of them. I just need to fill in a blank here or there. And that may be enough. That may be enough for you. That may be enough for many people out there. And that's why those free videos will be there, so that people can see and gauge whether they would find the rest of the course interesting, where we go into a little bit more detail, where we go into a little bit more, not really coaching, but kind of coaching, and go into talking about like what we could think about possibly with managing our money, what we may not have known about, like maybe like mutual funds. We don't want to get a mutual fund that has any more than 1% in terms of fees. Like, why is that not really accessible when you're like just talking about mutual funds? It's like, here are all the mutual funds. Like, okay, missing this tiny little bit of information that is like in Tony Robbins' book. That's what he says in his book, that enormous book, Master Your Money, something like this. That's what he talks about. That's the takeaway. It's like you should not be paying more than 1% for any mutual fund in terms of fees. But I didn't know that. What? So hemoglobin. Sorry, your name is amazing. Oh my God, I love it. This is not an ad channel. I'm launching a social enterprise, and so I live broadcast to talk about it. So maybe it is an ad channel for my own company, for my own brand, but what you'll see on the website MoneyMind.Global is there will be an online course that can be purchased sometime this year. And there will be free blog articles that will also be written over time. And there will be free videos that will be of the 5 pillars of MoneyMind, 5 pillars of financial stability, which we'll go into in a minute. And then there'll also be live broadcasting, just talking about this topic, talking about financial awareness, talking about financial empowerment, talking about just my experience and your experience and other people's experience with their personal finance and with their personal finance journey. Not advice, because I am not a financial planner. I have dyscalculia. I cannot give advice. I just wouldn't even if I was a financial planner. So this is all, and Money Mind is all based on my own personal journey and my own personal experience going through life and realizing that the basic, simplest, basic foundational pillar that was needed for me to feel secure in my personal finance life was the 5 pillars of Money Mind that I could share with the rest of the world. And we'll go into those now. 5 pillars of Money Mind, really basic. It's just a foundational overview. We don't go into any detail of these areas in terms of here are really specific ways to invest or anything like that. That is not what this is. There's no advice. It's just an overview of saying, here's a 5-pillar checklist of financial stability. Do you have all these 5 checked off in your financial life? The basic starter blocks. And these 5 are actually covered by the OECD Financial Literacy Core Competencies for Youth between 15 to 17. So theoretically, these should have been taught to us between 15 to 17 years old, but please, thank you, hello, everyone. Why is that not happening? I don't even know. I can't even with this. But the 5 pillars that I have gone ahead and created and I'm now sharing with the world because I have to, because somebody has to, Dad. So anyhow, rant. The 5 pillars of Money Mind is money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. Okay, so money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. So these 5 areas, just in quick summary. Money mindsets. Are we fixed mindset? Are we growth mindset? Are we, what kind of mindset do we have in terms of our money? Because this will cause the rest of the pillars to either hold up over the next 20 years or shake and fall. That I have seen in my experience, and it is freaky deaky, okay? So, but the mindset thing is not about whether you live from one paycheck to another. It's about how you think about things and the way that we view money or education or something. So for as an example that can be found on the interweb, for the fixed or growth mindset, fixed mindset will think I need to study my exams and I need to pass them to get a certain grade. Growth mindset will think I need to learn this stuff because it is valuable for me to have in my information arsenal and build upon. There's 2 different ways to be thinking about that's just on learning. And the ways we can be thinking about this with money is also something for us to keep in mind. Do we have fixed mindsets about money or growth mindsets about money? And we can't judge or have opinions or affect anyone else. All we can do is ask about ourselves and say, what is my mindset? What are my ways of thinking? And do I want to keep them? That's all. We can love them. We can be like, yeah, sure, I love having a fixed mindset. It works for me. It makes me feel safe. This is great. That's great. Fine. As long as we know that we have whatever mindset we have and that we're happy with it. And if we want to change it, then we can decide whether we want to change it, how much we want to change it, what we want to change it to. It gives us a bit of mind sight. That's what it's called. So then we have the savings. And the savings is really just how much do we want to be saving and why we want to be saving, which is mostly just to beat real depreciation, which is our money sitting in the bank, not gaining almost any interest and slowly depreciate or slowly losing its value, its purchasing value over time. So if we're just saving or stashing money, every year it's in the bank, it's going down in value unless it has more than 3 or 4% in interest. That's what we want to be beating. We want to somehow be able to try and get our savings to be stashed in a way that has more than 3 or 4% interest, which is very hard, which is why we invest. But savings, we mostly want to know what we're saving for, how much we're saving, and how much makes sense for us to save every month. And so that would be what we want to be doing in terms of saving every month. How much is comfortable for us? How much are we willing to save? How much do we want to ideally save? And that's where the budgeting pillar will come in, right? Oh, wow. Wow, Emo Clement, go you. Also, a bit dramatic, but but go you. So the budgeting area, a lot of people are like, I can't be bothered with the budgeting, but this area is really to see where we are. So this course and all of these areas are for people who want this type of conversation, who want to be considering things in different ways. And no offense, hemoglobin meant, but those are fixed mindset comments. So saying things can't change, things are how they are, is a really great example of fixed mindset. And that's fine. That's our choice, right? Absolutely. So it's a really good example if you're reading the comments. Sorry, hemoglobin. But it's a very, very good example of this is how it is. This is how other people are. So this course is about how we are, or how we want to be, or how we want to stay the same or change things, or what we want to change and where we want to change things. So the budgeting pillar is going to be really important because a lot of people don't bother with this one, and it will make a really big difference to how much that we have to save and where our money is going and feeling more on top of our finances. So this budgeting pillar is really saying, okay, where is my money going and what is it doing every month? And how can I put it in an area that is going to be leading towards me being financially stable? So there are a few types of budgets to keep in mind. And if we are, say, in a poverty cycle, right, which hemoglobin has mentioned is very, very valid and really important to take note of. If we are in, say, that debt cycle or some kind of poverty cycle, I'm not saying that this is going to be a solution, right? That's a huge problem that we wish there would be some better solution for. But there's a Harvard bankruptcy expert called Elizabeth Warren, and she created the 30-20-50 budget, saying this is what the starter budget would be to get out of cycles if we can. And it's something to work towards. So this person has created this budget that is called the 30-50-20 budget. And I'll go through 2 or 3 budgets here just as reference. So there's the 30-50-20 budget by Elizabeth Warren, and it's 30% to savings or spending, 30% to spending, 20% to savings, and 50% to necessities, rent necessities, and those types of things. And apparently that is the formula that she has created over her decades and decades of work in this area and personal experience that can help people to have some starter reference point of what to work towards in terms of a starter budget. So that's the 30-50-20 budget. Then we also have the zero-sum budget, which is every single dollar. And Dave Ramsey talks about how that zero-sum budget is very highly disciplined and useful for people who want to really take charge of their finances. So this area is good for people who are maybe savers, maybe aren't big spenders, maybe aren't emotional spenders, perhaps, just in my opinions, and have the discipline and the willpower to go ahead and say, this is where I'm going to allocate every single dollar. So here's where the dollars are going, and I will only use those dollars for those things. So at the end of the month, it's a zero sum. So if I have $100, I have allocated every single dollar of that $100, and then I will put that where it's allocated to, and that's it. Then I know my money's going exactly where it's meant to go. So, hemoglobin, I really value your comments, and it's really interesting to see that type of belief side, that sort of fixed mindset, things are how they are, let's judge other people mindset. It's interesting to see, while not particularly helpful to other people other than an example of what that type of judgmental fixed mindset looks like. So I'm sorry to have to make an example of your comments because they are very, very valid points. But they also aren't helpful to other people reading you either. But, you know, it sounds like you're doing great anyways, but it's up to us whether we want to choose to subscribe to everything is awful and everyone else sucks, or I'm going to do something about my life and my money and possibly make a change in the ways and the areas that I'm doing things. So I'm very sorry that you have had such a hard experience, and good for you for working hard and working very hard for things. Plenty of people work very hard for things in their countries, regardless of the countries that they're in. So, yes, things are hard, but hi Kevin, but I might just keep to the topic, and I may end up having to reduce your comments unless they can be helpful or supportive to our community instead of just complaining. Because just complaining or saying, here's all the negative stuff that's in the world, doesn't move anyone forward. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't make any change or positive difference. And frankly, I don't find it useful or helpful for anyone, even for yourself. So I'm really glad that you are making really good positive changes and efforts in your own life. And I hope you can set an example to other people. But these comments are not showing people how you are making really good examples. So yes, we don't give advice either. So thank you. Okay. Just give me a minute. Huh. Interesting. Okay. So we are just going to go ahead and mute hemoglobin, even though I love the name and I would have loved if hemoglobin could change to be helpful and supportive and useful to everybody, but I fear not. So anyhow, distracted. So we have money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills and legacy. And hemoglobin did talk about the investing part and their personal preference for investing, and they like to obviously do the very, very high risk investing. So sorry, just jumping back to the budget. So you have the zero sum budget, you have the 30, 50, 20 budget, and you also have the no budget budget, which is really great for people who want to spend on their necessities, then on their, oh, see, that's so weird, it's still showing, on their necessities, and then it will show on their, wait, what? I'm getting so distracted. So the no budget budget, necessities, and then spending is the rest after savings. So you allocate whatever it is that your basic necessities are, then you allocate whatever you want to be saving, whatever percentage works for you, and then you just spend the rest. So that's good for people who don't want to do a lot of like budgeting management or that type of thing. And it's the laziest type of budget possible. So that's necessities allocated, then that is savings allocated as well, and then that is the rest of it just spent. So that's good for people who are in that situation where that type of budget would work for them. And then I've also created this other 25% budget that I'll go into another time. But those are three types of budgets that are very popular out in the world, and a lot of people use and apply, and they apply this to work on their situations, especially if there's, no budget implemented in the household at all or in the personal finance at all. That can be quite helpful to just think about, what am I doing with my money? And the first step with budgeting is to start with tracking the expenses. What am I spending today? What am I spending right now? And what is going outwards? And just doing that for maybe like 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, and see just with the outgoing spending, what is happening, where your money is going, if you don't already know. So that's a really great way to start with gaining awareness in this area. So then with the investing area, I just talk about the CABS categories, which is what your personal finance advisor would mention if you were just to talk about investing, blah, 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 blah. Basically starting, it will be the CAPS categories, which get you where you need to go, which is cash, alternatives, bonds, and stocks. And those are the basic foundational model portfolio areas that will be kind of mentioned when we're going into our personal finance investing journey. Then we will use our risk profiling questionnaire, which we'll have done at some point in here, and see whether we have different risk levels. Someone like hemoglobin would have a very high risk tolerance and be able to take risks with their money and their decision making that they are comfortable with. That is their personal preference. And other people will have a much more maybe bonds oriented or much more low risk preference where they want their money to be there, beating inflation, but not taking very high risk, not risking losing it. And so it's really important to know with our investing what our style is, what we prefer, what we like and don't like, and stick to what we feel the most comfortable with because it is our money. So this is really important for us to choose our style and be comfortable with it. And then wills and legacy. Simply put, if you're over 18, you need a will because otherwise your family has to fight to prove that they know you and are able to access your Facebook accounts and things like that. So I'm doing this chapter right now and I'm filling in gaps of the information, and I'm also going to be working hopefully together with a wonderful law firm to get some input and advice on multi-jurisdictional, just general areas of what could be useful or helpful to know. And sort of generically, what is in a basic will? What areas do we need to say, okay, I've got my executor name information, I've got my beneficiary's name as information, and here's a list of my assets. Or just a simple will that says, here's my executor, here's my beneficiary, and everything just goes to these people, right? And then we can just do a separate list of what we own, which would be all of our assets listed out. And then we can do a much more complex will on that with all of that information later. And we keep our will in a legacy file, which is a box that we put into our study or somewhere in our house. And if we're working on compiling the list of assets that we own or other things like that, then we would put that into a legacy file along with our will. And anything that we're working on that's will related or ownership related in terms of property that could be assets and deeds and things like that would go into the legacy file as well. So they're in one place or one area and easy to access if it's ever needed. And then we tell people where that is and we make sure that that is covered. So it's important to get this done properly by like a lawyer or somebody who is an expert in this area, because it can be very difficult to untangle if we get it wrong. So I've been told. So wills over 18, if we're over 18, we need a will. So that's important. So MoneyMind is a social enterprise that is covering these areas. Money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. And those areas are really important for financial stability and feeling like we have like confidence to know that the bases are covered in our own personal finance life. These aren't going to be valid or applicable for everybody. They're not even going to be like everybody's cup of tea. And that's great. That's fine, because when we know what we like or what we don't like, we have more ability to choose what we do. And that's what we want to work towards. We want to work towards finding our style, finding our personal preference, and then doing whatever works for us in terms of being how we are, choosing how we want to be, and then if we want to stay the same, that's okay. If we want to change or move forward, then that's great. This course and this area will be for people who want a change or want to develop in some way, develop confidence or develop their own mindset or develop or personally progress. This course is not going to be useful for people who already have everything sorted out or their own personal preference or their own personal styles that they already know, because it's a beginner's starter course to help with the foundation if we don't already know it. So if we are in an area where we want to have some change, we want to say, actually, I am not happy with thinking limiting mindsets anymore. I don't feel like my thoughts help me. I don't feel like they make me feel better. I feel like they make me feel like maybe the world is against me or things are just too tough or too difficult. We can be in any bracket of society, even privileged, and feel like that. And that's a mindset thing. But this is not dismissing in any ways the systemic problems that are out there in the world that really, yes, need to be addressed more strongly and more fiercely. But, you know, I respect and admire everyone who's doing their best in every area to help people to survive, get by in life, do their best. And this area and this way for me doing this is me doing some small part in a way that I know how to a demographic of people who may want this particular type of information. So it's not going to be valid for everyone. It's not going to be useful or helpful for everyone. But for the one person that it is useful or helpful for, that's what MoneyMind.Global is created for. That's what this social enterprise is created for. It will be for the people who want to make a change or want to know these 5 pillars and then use them to build confidence in their own life, whether it's by knowing that they don't like these, they do like these, or making some kind of opinion about things in a way that makes them feel like this area is much more easy for them to take the next steps in. Because a lot of us will stall or stagnate, and that can cause us to feel stuck in our personal finances. So this is a little course to help people decide whether or not they want to take the next steps. And it is for people who do want to make the next steps in some way and to help them decide how, or how they choose, or what they think, or what they feel in terms of moving forward in their own life. So that's why this course is created. Thank you everyone for watching, for your input, for your feedback. This is a growth mindset promotional course. So I apologize to like hemoglobin and other people who maybe won't find it so much of a fit in terms of being part of this community. I would love if it would be of some help somehow, but I respect that everyone has their own different points of view and different ways of looking at things and experiencing life. So I choose this style and this way of looking for possibilities and opportunities and seeing how I can affect change. And that's not for everybody. That's not going to be everybody's style. But this community will also be built around that type of mindset and that type of direction. We want people to be here talking with us who can share their experiences and share their growth and share their journey in a way that is helpful and useful to the other people here. Because when we are sharing what has benefited us and challenges we have overcome, that is going to be valuable to other people. And that's what we want to share and have mostly here in our community, in our live chats, and in MoneyMind.Global generally. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. I hope that you're well, Kevin. I know there's a lot of situations going on in the world with COVID-19. Please, everyone, stay safe. And thank you so much for watching, for joining, for commenting on any platform that you're on. I'll see you again.